Remakers Mark, episode 57, Tombstone. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Remakers Mark. Here we are in our 57th episode, where we're discussing the modern-ish, western-ish, classic-ish Tombstone. With me, as always, are my friends Andy Wicks. Andy, how are you doing this rootin' tootin' day? And if you had to pick, would you pick cowboys, pirates, or ninjas?
I'm well. I was gonna say I'm your huckleberry, but it's too easy. I'm not gonna say it. I'll let someone else say that. I'm well, thank you. And I would choose a cowboy, pirate, ninja.
Ooh, interesting. Going full Munchkin on the bit.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Good choice. Jeremy Nilsson, how are you this evening? And what would be your choice? Cowboys, pirates, or ninjas?
I am a little sweaty. It's warm out, and I had to run to get here because I was taking the dog out. So a little out of breath, a little damp. But I would choose pirates out of those three. Pirates.
Interesting. All right.
And
cool.
My remake is going to be full pirate.
Nice. Tombstone Pirate Edition.
Exactly.
Nice. I'm very intrigued by this. Lee Huckleberry will not be with us tonight. He had some things to deal with, so that's cool. Lee, we miss you, and we wish you well. In the meantime, Mark Joesting, how are you this evening, and what would be your choice between the Cowboys, the Pirates, or the Ninjas?
I'm lovely, thank you. And, I'm feeling stereotypical, and being Asian, I have to say ninjas.
There's really no wrong answer here, to be honest. Like there's you can't go wrong with any of them aside from all the various ways that you can go wrong. But just as a whole, kind of as archetypes, you can't go wrong.
Yeah, even as Asians, given there were Asian cowboys and Asian pirates. But
yeah, were there Asian cowboys?
Oh yes, because there are Asian cows.
What? Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. All right. That's my racial blind spot. I'm working on it.
You got to check that. You got to look behind you and to the left, and then you see. Then you just
over
see
here. Found it.
Exactly. Oh, it was a Yugo. It was a Yugo with my blind spot. All right. My name is Kyle Delahunt. I will be your host once again, and I'm very excited to talk about Tombstone. Before we do that, Mark, you chose this movie, and so we are going to have you give us a recommendation of something that you recommend for the School of Redundancy School portion of the show. So please, recommend away.
I'm a little bit late in the quarantine season for this one, but it's my first opportunity to recommend something quarantine-related, so I'm going to do it.
Nice.
And I'm going to recommend Dungeons & Dragons Quarantine Resources.
Ooh.
Basically, Wizards of the Coast has been providing free material ever since the month of April, I believe, and all with the idea of making it easier to play online. And so, if one were to go to dnd.wizards.com/remote/free material, you would find, hey, what do you know, free material, and it's all sorts of stuff. But perhaps most significantly is free adventures.
Nice.
So. Yeah, Wizards of the Coast making it easier for people to still play their favorite game, even while quarantined.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
and given a lot of the social strife that's been happening of late, they've also made some changes to some character classes and some things like that, just to make them a more accurate portrayal and a more sensitive portrayal, making sure that there are not populations that would be put off by such portrayals, so as not to enjoy Dungeons and Dragons. So that's cool too. So that's separate from the quarantine.
I think you
resources.
mean changes to some of the races, not the characters.
Races. Thank you.
Or not the classes.
True.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
they're working on their race mechanics.
Yep.
Yes. So that was always appreciated. It's never too early or too late to make changes like that. And, it could have been something that was done 10 years ago or whatever, but we're really glad it happened now. So good on you, D&D, and hopefully more people just get involved and it gets even better from there. All right. Very good, Mark. Thank you for the recommendation. Much appreciated. We are all good D&D nerds here, so that is wonderful to hear. Andy, we're going to move on to you for a summary of our film and our history with it.
Mm-hmm. Tombstone is a 1993 Western directed, in air quotes, by George Cosmatos, he of Rambo First Blood Part 2 fame, and starring Kurt Russell, who really directed the film, Val Kilmer, Dana Delaney, and featuring a rockin' lineup with Sam Elliott, Bill Paxton, Michael Bain, Powers Booth, Jason Priestley, Billy Zane, Billy Bob Thornton, Charlton Heston, and Robert Mitchum, among others. It is an historic adjacent story about Wyatt Earp and his family's arrival into Tombstone, Arizona, their run-ins with the outlaw gang known as the Cowboys, and their reluctant acceptance that they're the only ones who can put a stop to the shenanigans. The film includes Shakespearean soliloquies, laudanum addictions, opium dens, Indiana Jones-esque gunshot sound effects, and a showdown involving a small whiskey cup. Hilarity? You bet it ensues.
And how?
Man, that was a fun one to write.
That was a good one.
Yeah. Kyle. No,
Yes.
Lee, this was Lee's pick, wasn't it?
This is my
It
pick.
was Mark's pick.
Wait. Mark, this was your pick.
This was my pick.
Tell us why you picked it.
Funnily, I have actually never seen the whole movie.
That's a great reason. I do that all the time.
What?
I just figured, hey, it's been some time since we've done a Western. We haven't done many of them. This was known to be a good one. And it was popular amongst my group of friends when I was growing up. So I figured we'd go for it.
I'm glad you chose it. Jer, you have a little history with this.
Yeah, this has been a favorite in my family. My siblings and I watched this a lot back in the high school years. And so it's kind of one of those oft quoted movies. I presented to my sister Tammy and her husband that we were going to be recasting it. And she essentially told me in no uncertain terms that we better leave this the hell alone. So I don't know if I'm going to get any good, solid picks from her.
I think you just got one from her.
That's an opinion too. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's allowed.
Yeah, this is another one that was, for me, I couldn't tell you how many times I've seen this movie. And it's kind of funny because I don't know why I've seen this movie so many times. I'm not generally a huge Western fan, but I always liked this movie. And it just seems like it's been on a lot. But anyway.
Wonderful. Thank you, everybody. Now, let us, as usual, in the first part of our discussion, move on to recasting. We are going to be recasting two major characters. I'll let you guess which ones. Just kidding. We'll tell you in a minute. And we are going to recast 5, what we're calling major minor characters, where instead of just one of us picking them, we're going to have 2 of us picking them. So it's just a little bit different than normal, especially given how stacked the cast is. So we just wanted to be kind of true to that and do our part for that. So up first is the role of Doc Holliday, originally played by Val Kilmer. Mark, tell us about Doc.
Doc Holliday is a friend of the Earp brothers and tags along for their adventures in Tombstone. He is sick with consumption, but doesn't let it hamper his educated wit. Also, he is your Huckleberry. I love Doc Holliday in this film. I thought Val Kilmer did a great job, and especially with that accent.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted somebody who could do all the same nuance and be sly and witty and make you root for him while not necessarily liking him. So I picked Christian Bale.
Yeah.
Yes. Uh-huh.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Yep, that's a good choice.
Thank
now,
you.
which Christian Bale will this be? How will he inhabit this role? Will he put on a bunch of weight? Will he take off a bunch of weight? Will he grow big muscles? Like, how will Christian Bale prepare for this role?
Yeah, because someone with consumption had real big muscles.
I would think not quite machinist, but not Dark Knight. I would say 80% machinist, 20% Dark Knight.
I think we got to throw a little the fighter in there.
Oh, yeah. Lean, wiry.
You know, meth head.
And
Yep.
the beard of the Prestige.
Yeah. Well, the mustache of the Prestige. Mark, we didn't give you a chance to answer. Please tell us.
I was going to go. I was going to go Dark Knight Rises, and where formerly athletic and kind of wasted away a little bit.
Sure. Broken back, Bruce Wayne.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. I like that. With a bit of sort of overly gray makeup action.
Yeah, I loved how they made
Yeah.
Val Kilmer look in that one.
Mhm.
He just looks so moist. Good Lord. All the time.
There was also a
Just
quote
moist.
attributed to him apparently when Cosmatos was brought in to direct. He really kind of he was a strict director in a sense, but he's also going for authenticity. And one of the things that he did was have very authentic costumes, which meant very heavy woolen suits. And they filmed on location in the summer in Arizona. So I think, as Val Kilmer, seemed to intimate that it was really hotter than hell down there. So I'd be sweaty too.
Sure.
As would I.
What they did is they dabbed everyone else and he just never got dabbed. One, to get the feel, and then two, just for fear of like wiping off whatever like dead person makeup was on him. So dab free holiday. Yeah. Nice. Good choice.
Lee Huckleberry is next, but is not with us. Kyle, do you have any insight into his pick?
I do. Yes. Lee Huckleberry sent me his picks ahead of time. Lee chose Walton. Sorry, not Welton. Wow. That was terrible. Walton Goggins.
Oh, yeah.
Is kind of one of those guys. It's interesting in that he kind of looks like an everyman, but he tends to play bad guys for the most part, from what I've seen.
He was actually who I thought played Johnny Ringo originally.
Yeah, he looks so much like that. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You would know him from Hateful Eight, Justified, The Shield. So he's done a lot of kind of like premiere TV. He was in the Predators movie from 2010. So he's done a lot. He is just one of those faces where like when you see it, like, oh yeah, that guy. But he's not like a character actor, that guy necessarily. It's kind of in between. But yeah, I think he would be a really good fit for that. And I feel like he would bring the kind of snide, sort of a little bit like snivelly in the way that you're kind of endeared to way that Doc Holliday brings. So I like that.
Every role he's in, he looks like he should be playing a cowboy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. Absolutely. That's a great description. I am up next. This is Kyle. So, man, I put in our Slack group earlier that I had a hell of a time recasting this movie. There was like both so many options or no options. Like I just really had a hard time with this one. But once I found this one, I was really excited about it. So I went with Andrew Scott, who is not a super well-known name in terms of names go. But if you have seen either the BBC Sherlock, he plays Moriarty in that.
Oh.
Or if you have seen Fleabag, he plays the pastor in season 2. He is a tremendous actor. He is very, very British, Irish. I can't remember which. Irish. But like, if there's anything we know about the Irish is that they can do American accents better than we can do Irish or British accents. It'll be fine, true. Right? He can do anything. But he just has that kind of look in his eye where you don't quite know what he's going to say or do next. And it makes him such an exciting performer. And I feel like that is like everything that Doc Holliday needs to bring. He needs to be like worn out, that you're just waiting for something to happen. He's like the tiny little ninja in the Simpsons episode where Homer doesn't want to look away. And then when he does, something cool happens. Like that is Andrew Scott. He's our tiny little ninja.
Cool.
Yeah, exactly. He's our tiny little ninja in this circumstance, tying back to our ninja choice of earlier. Yeah, I really like him. He's very, very broad. He has also done like Shakespearean acting. Like he's a well-known theater actor. So I mean, he's got chops up the wazoo. I just think that he has everything necessary to make this a really interesting role and would do justice to Val Kilmer's original performance.
I wish I knew him better because your description sounds spot on.
Yeah. If you honestly, both Sherlock and Fleabag are good things to check out if you haven't done so already. Fleabag is one of those that's kind of like conflict TV, which usually I don't like. For whatever reason, this show I can get into. Like I can't watch Curb Your Enthusiasm or It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where like it's all about people being a-holes to each other. For whatever reason, this show works for me, even though it is largely that. It is pretty miserable, but in a really interesting way. And season 2 pretty much rests on his and Phoebe Waller-Bridge's shoulders equally, which is no small feat because she's incredible. So yeah, definitely check them out. Jer, on to you. Who is your doc?
I wanted to go with somebody that was going to have kind of that same charisma that Val Kilmer did. And I don't think that you're going to find a way to recreate the lightning in a bottle that he somehow was able to conjure up. But I wanted somebody that was, like you guys already said, that was likable, even though he's not a very likable character. But you were still drawn to him. He still was so much a big, interesting part of the movie. But I also wanted somebody, so Doc Holliday was sort of a gunfighter historically, but he was also just a dentist. So I also wanted to get somebody that felt a little bit more out of place. So I went with Adam Driver, and I want a combination of his character in The Dead Don't Die, the zombie movie with Bill Murray. So a little bit.
Did you see that?
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
I want a little bit of that and a little bit of Logan Lucky, and then stir in some more refined education So he's talking about Chopin and quoting Latin and whatnot. And I just think that he would have a very unique and different take that could really continue to draw in as a character.
I think that's fantastic. My umbrage with it is so petty, and I'm going to acknowledge it on its face.
He's too tall.
No, not at all.
That's what I was going to say, actually.
I don't care about that. It's going to make me sound so bad. He has weird earlobes.
He's wearing a hat, Andy.
Have you ever seen him?
Come on.
Okay, he's got weird looking ears. Like, there's a reason why he always has his hair long to cover his ears. Like,
and he's a cowboy. He's going to have a hat on. He's going to have shaggy hair. He's going to have a sweet.
Well, but if you think about it, Doc Holliday, at least in this movie, was a very dapper gentleman who was well coiffed. So if that can be done in a way that I mean, I'm not saying it can't be done. I'm just saying this is something that the hair and makeup department's got to address.
Yeah, no, I want to see Doc Holliday. I want to see my Adam Driver Doc Holliday as a formerly dapper person who is now kind of dealing with this sickness that's killing him and kind of in his twilight years, so to speak. And so he has that air of dapperness, but he's fallen out of it because he has become more of just an itinerant criminal and poker player and whatnot.
Okay.
You feel that he at one time was sort of this air of aristocracy, but it's still there, but he doesn't look it as much.
Okay.
That's where I'm going with it.
We can also CG the ears, I mean, that's entirely.
But then everyone will know.
Like Superman's beard.
Jer, I wanna rewind ever so slightly to go back to The Dead Don't Die.
Sure.
And was I not 100% right that Adam Driver pulling up in his smart car convertible was the funniest thing that you saw all of last year? Oh my God. It was just the best. You guys have to see it.
So tall. He is the gangliest person. And I would love to see him in just a big duster and hat walking next to the three Earps. It would just be so great.
I feel like he's going to have to walk in a trough or something to get the same height as everybody else.
No, the opposite. You ever so slyly make his cowboy hat a little taller than everybody else's too. So then he just looks like he's a foot taller than everybody else.
His cowboy boots don't have heels.
He's wearing cowboy flats.
He's got cowboy flats.
Cowboy mock.
His ballet slipper.
Andy, who is your Doc Holliday?
Those are all fantastic picks. What was not the intentional premise, but what turned out to be the premise in my cast, as I communicated to Kyle earlier, is that I'm going for most beautiful in my cast. No, but
Andy.
Well, mine might be. Doc Holliday he's my favorite character in this movie by leaps and bounds, and to really find someone to fill those roles is going to be tough. And what I ended up landing on was Leonardo DiCaprio. Mm-hmm. And channeling his character in Django Unchained a lot. Less evil, but only slightly. Yeah. That the character, I know I'm forgetting his character's name in Django Unchained, but was a Southern gentleman who was a wicked, evil slave owner, was very much the villain. You had no trouble identifying him as the villain and hating him, but he's still Leonardo DiCaprio. He still is a handsome devil and, dressed to the nines, all this stuff. So I wanted to take the manners, the gentlemanly manner of that character, put him on this one, still make him sort of chaotic. We're going to go maybe a little more chaotic neutral as opposed to maybe lawful evil. If we're continuing with the D&D theme, that he's loyal to his friends, but he's still very much living on the gray area between legal and illegal activity. So Leonardo DiCaprio.
Nice. You should see Once Upon a Time in Hollywood if you have not done so, because it's pretty good. There are parts of it that annoyed me, but his performance is incredible. And he plays a very different kind of cowboy in that. That will round out this pick for you in a lot of ways.
All right. Well, there we go.
I considered him both for this role and for Curly Bill.
I did as well. So, Jerry, we think alike.
Indeed.
And that's why I love you.
Aw.
All right, so for Doc Holliday, enough of that mushy crap. For Doc Holliday, originally played by Val Kilmer, Mark went with Christian Bale, Lee went with Walton Goggins, I went with Andrew Scott, Jer went with Adam Driver, and Andy went with Leo DiCaprio. Up next is Wyatt Earp. Wyatt Earp is, well, dadgummit, he's Wyatt Earp. Originally played by Kurt Russell, Wyatt leads with his heart. That is, when his spectacular mustache or need for revenge don't get in the way. He can't quite walk on water, but he did somehow find a way to create a bulletproof force field while walking in water. And well, I'd say that's a mighty fine special ability. This was the one that I had a really hard time recasting. I found that, and this is not a complaint by any means, but I found that there's not a lot of like gruff, youngish, not like young, but young to middle-age actors nowadays. They're just not a lot out there. There's just not like a dangerous people out there, kind of like there was in the Kurt Russell, Escape from New York, kind of a little creepy, a little bit off, a little too tough kind of thing.
You choose Danny Trejo?
I did not choose Danny Trejo. I considered it, but I did not choose him. That would be a great choice. However, I did choose Charlie Hunnam. You'll probably know Charlie Hunnam from Pacific Rim, most likely. He was in Sons of Anarchy. He was in The Lost City of Z, which was actually a pretty extraordinary movie. He was in that Guy Ritchie King Arthur movie, which I never saw. Probably okay with that. Yeah. Yep. He just does rugged well. I feel like you're seeing a lot of Sons of Anarchy and Justified in our picks here, and probably for good reason, because everybody in that is gristled and tough and bikery, right? Like, so I feel like that makes sense. That's kind of as close as we have right now to that. I just think he is a better actor than he is given credit for, because he tends to get that gruff kind of things where there's not a lot of range. And I would like for him to bring a little bit more range to Wyatt, and I think he can do it. He's got a good heart as an actor. I feel like that's like the ethics of his performances come through. You know what I mean? Like it feels like a moral study, not just a character study. And I feel like he can do that character honor. So Charlie Hunnam is who I went with for Senior Earp.
He's 40 years old. I would not have guessed that.
I know. Yeah.
All right.
Yep. Little youngin.
Good on you, Charlie Hunnam.
Would you have guessed older or younger than that?
I would have guessed younger.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I would have said like 34, 35.
Just as a point of reference, Wyatt Earp was 30 at the time of the OK Corral in history.
Wow. Oh, really? Huh.
He was growing that mustache since he was 12.
Never shaved it once.
Not once. Exactly.
Andy. Yes.
Who is your Wyatt?
My Wyatt is Bradley Cooper. Again, going for most handsomest.
Yeah, you are going very pretty, aren't you?
Yeah. But I had the same dilemma as Kyle in trying to find someone who could portray a rugged cowboy who's, the life was nasty, brutish, and short and not necessarily pretty. But I want to channel a little bit of the look of Bradley Cooper from A Star is Born. You can't knock the handsome off of Bradley Cooper. So I'm not going to ask you to try that. But I think we can at least make him seem a little more worn. And I think that if you don't put him in situations where he's got to flash that beautiful smile, then he can pull off a little bit more of the tired former law enforcement officer who just wants to, have a quiet private life and get into business and things like that. So I do really like Bradley Cooper as an actor. I love his voice acting in Guardians of the Galaxy series, things like that. He's got a lot of range for a guy who on the surface could just be a pretty face. He's got quite a lot going on there. So I'm happy with my very handsome pick of Bradley Cooper.
I like your A Star is Born compass. I feel like it should be about 50% less Chris Christopherson, but otherwise, like with that, it is like dead on because he was 140% Chris Christopherson.
Well, yeah, I mean, can you blame him? Can you blame him in that movie? Though?
No, it is 100%. I mean, if you're going to inhabit the role as it was done best. So yeah, it makes perfect sense. But man, I just wanted to give him a Listerine or something and be like, just gargle for a minute. You're going to be okay, buddy.
It's like Christian Bale. Here's the throat lozenge, Batman. Just come on. It's okay.
Yeah. Yep. But I really like that as the inspiration for it.
Well,
I think that's a great call. Yeah.
Thank you. Jer, it is to you.
Yeah. So I wasn't thinking so much about age, although I didn't want I didn't want somebody super old, but unfortunately I picked somebody kind of old anyway that I think can play a little bit younger, although probably not 30. But I wanted somebody that was going to, and I thought Kurt Russell did a pretty good job of this. I wanted somebody that when that sort of turn happened late in the movie and his switch flipped and he went from I just want to be a businessman to I just want to be a businessman, but now I guess I have to be the sheriff to I'm going to kill all of you. I want that turn to feel like not scary. I want it to feel intense. So I want somebody that has that intensity, but at the same time that has that lean silhouette and eyes closed by the sun, though sharp as a hawk, with the look of both predator and prey.
Happy hunting.
Thanks. But yeah, I wanted somebody that looked grizzled and looked like that jagged, square-jawed cowboy face and looked like they have seen it all already and they just want to settle down and be quiet and live life and then get sort of thrust back into this. So I went with Thomas Jane, who has about the craggliest cowboy face that I could think of.
It's up there, yeah.
You would know him most recently or more recently from a lot of things. He is a busy man, holy moly. But he was in The Predator with somebody else was already mentioned in that movie. He was, he's in so much. Wasn't he? He was one of the Punishers that came out. Was. And I have been enjoying him lately in The Expanse, which is a sci-fi television show about the near future, where he plays basically a noir detective. But yeah, he is great, and he just screams cowboy to me, and I think that he would bring a little bit more. Kyle, you mentioned a lot of times when you are looking for a role, you imagine a specific moment and what they would do in that moment. Yep. And the one for me with Wyatt Earp is towards the end when they stop what's his name from killing the brothers and their wives as they're leaving on a train, and then he like slices his face with his spur and says, "You tell him I'm coming. You tell him hell's coming." Or what, however that goes. Like that's the moment I was picturing. Was that just like, oh crap moment of like we done let loose the dogs of hell now, the hounds of hell. So that's the moment I was thinking of, and I think Thomas Jane really can just like go ballistic with that role.
I like that. Also, Jer, really good portrayal there. That was top notch.
Thanks.
Well done.
I don't think I did it right, but
doesn't matter. You got the emotion.
And Kyle, who did Lee pick? Because I am very curious about this.
Yeah, Lee chose another somewhat familiar name of late for him, which was Guy Pearce. I'm a big fan of Guy Pearce. I enjoy him a lot. This is a very interesting pick to me because he's a little bit older. He was born in 1967, so he's 53. So he's a little bit older, but he definitely's got that gristled face. He kind of balances, like he's more Bradley Cooper than Thomas Jane in terms of the pretty gristle ratio, which is now an official measure in acting performance. I've just decided.
Like 80s handsome, to go back to our Supergirl episode.
On the Thomas Jane Bradley Cooper spectrum, where does he fall? He's a Guy Pearce. Oh, okay.
There's always 10 pulls, and Guy Pearce is one of those.
Yeah.
But like he can do just about anything. I saw him in Bloodshot, which was not good, and he was not terribly good in it, but I think he's better than that material allowed him to be. So I think he is a very good performer. I like his ability to do that turn as well. I feel like he could do that a little bit, not quite as loud as Kurt Russell does, but I could see him doing it more subdued without losing the intensity of it. So I like Lee's pick there of Guy Pearce. That's a good one. Thoughts on that?
I could see Guy Pearce as a Doc Holliday.
Yeah.
I could see Guy Pearce as a Ringo.
Yeah.
Ooh. That Guy Pearce, he can do anything.
It's true.
Guy Pearce one-man show.
Yeah. He could do the Josephine Marcus role.
Probably.
Yeah.
Judged by his performance in Priscilla, Queen of the Desert.
Oh, man. He could play
nice.
all the women.
Hey, there you go.
There
all the women and all the men.
Good tie-in. I like it. Last but not least, Mark, who is your Wyatt?
I was looking for many of the same things in a Wyatt. I wanted to find somebody kind of gruff.
Wyatt. I love it.
And I also wanted to get kind of an everyman quality at least until like Jerry mentioned, that turn. I ended up picking somebody just a little bit older, but I think he looks younger than he really is. I picked Ethan Hawke.
Ooh, interesting.
Oh, that's good.
Thank
I like
you.
that.
Oh, that's good. That's real good.
Yeah, I like that.
Thank you. Yeah, we know Ethan Hawke from lots of things, so I won't get into all of them, but a couple of the highlights would be like Gattaca.
Mm-hmm.
And was it Reality Bites? Yeah, there we go.
Yep.
Way back.
Amongst
way
many.
back.
So I want to ask a poll of you guys, which has nothing to do with your pick other than it involves Ethan Hawke, Mark. Pardon the distraction for a moment. I really want to watch, I really want to see Gattaca again, but two, I really want to show the boys that. Does that seem like a good movie for like, smart, crafty 13, 16-year-old, 14, 17-year-old kids to you guys?
I've never seen it.
Really?
I
You should.
Yeah,
I don't remember it well enough. I mean, it's the parts I remember, yes. I don't remember any details about how appropriate it is for minors.
Yeah, I think it's less the appropriateness and just more like, is it too much of a thinker, or is it a good balance of action versus thinkerdom? Like Kate thought, like, I remember being bored at that movie, she said, and I was like, oh, I was not bored at all. Oh no. So I don't know. I was just gauging your level on it, but TBD, I guess. I'll just sneak it in there at some point. We'll make it work. All right. Any other thoughts on Ethan Hawke? He's great. Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good answer. That's a really good pick, Mark. Good job.
I love that pick.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's real good.
Well done. For the role of Wyatt Earp, originally played by Kurt Russell, I went with Charlie Hunnam. Andy went with Bradley Cooper. Jer went with Thomas Jane. Lee went with Guy Pearce, and Mark went with Ethan Hawke.
That's a handsome group of men right there.
That is a good crew right there. That is indeed. Now we are on to our major minor characters, first of which is Curly Bill. Andy, tell us about Curly Bill. Sorry, Jer, tell us about Curly Bill.
Yes, I will do that. Curly Bill is the cowboyest cowboy. He likes opium, the theater, weddings, shooting people, and being in charge. Half of which seem to be kind of cowboy things and half of which are not.
Not necessarily in that order.
Not in that order.
He is a fully realized human being with emotions, okay?
Yeah. He was originally played by Powers Booth, the scenery chewing Powers
Yeah.
Booth.
Man.
Yes. Very yes.
And he played Curly. So Curly Bill is an interesting character in that he's the main bad guy, but he's not the worst bad guy. And
He's not. I would say he's not the main bad guy.
He. Well, I guess that point could be up for debate as well. He early on seems to be being presented as the main bad guy, and then it turns out he kind of dies in a not overly dramatic way, and we're left with Johnny Ringo as sort of the more evil bad guy. But so it's interesting how they sort of set him up, and Powers Booth did just a bizarre take on this character, and I wanted somebody that was going to be a little bit more straightforward with him and was going to be a little bit more menacing, a little bit scarier, maybe still like the theater and opium. That's fine. So I went with Javier Bardem.
Whoa.
Big gun.
Suddenly I'm terrified.
Yeah. And if he was the leader of a group of bloodthirsty cowboys, that brings a little bit more fear and terror for me.
I feel like he could be the only bloodthirsty cowboy, and that would still be pretty terrifying.
Yep.
Exactly. Yep. You pull in a little bit of Anton Chigurh and a little bit of a handful of other roles, and then maybe sprinkle it in with his Bond villain from Skyfall, and that's your Curly Bill. And I think that's a drastic improvement over Powers Booth.
Huh.
That recipe intrigues and frightens me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Out of all of the roles in this movie, Curly Bill is the one I wanted to remake the most because of how little I thought Powers Booth brought in a clear way. It was the role that I felt could be improved the most. All of the women roles notwithstanding, and we'll get into that in the second episode. But yeah, that I just think that somebody more villainous would be a better villain. Andy, how about you?
I enjoyed Powers Booth's performance. Powers Booth to me looks like he's a caricature of himself. You know,
I mean, his name is Powers Booth.
And his name is Powers Booth, but just looking at him, he looks like a caricature drawing of someone who looks more normal. That being said, continuing with my beautiful theme for my cast, I went with Matthew McConaughey for Powers, or for Curly Bill. I want to mix together some of the swagger from his debut in Dazed and Confused with the energy and leadership qualities of his character from Sahara, and then sprinkle in a large helping of, I think, probably chaotic neutral to chaotic evil, I think is fair to say for him. And then to me, then you have a really handsome, devilish Curly Bill.
I can't stop hearing in my head now Matthew McConaughey saying, "I'd shoot that devil in the ass."
Well, that was see.
I mean, that wasn't a good Matthew McConaughey impression. But I can't picture.
It's the best one you've done so far.
It's the best one I've got.
There we are. That
Nice.
is our Curly's Bill.
Thank you for
The
clarifying.
bill's curly.
The Bill's curly. Kyle, tell us about Ringo, Johnny Ringo.
I will. Johnny Ringo is as slimy and no good as his name might make you assume he might be. He's real good at shooting, chewing tobacco, and speaking romantic languages. And he's slimy. Real slimy. Originally played by Michael Biehn, who you might know as Kyle Reese from The Terminator, or the character whose name I don't remember from Aliens, but who is awesome. Hudson Hicks. I think Hicks. I always got those two mixed up. Hicks, thank you. Michael Biehn is like legendary as far as I'm concerned, but he never got to where like an Arnold or a Stallone, or like he was always like second fiddle to the action star, but he brought so much humanity to those roles that it really was like he always brought something special to that. He was in The Abyss as well. He was very good in that, but the humanity was the thing that I thought was sorely lacking in this role. Like he was just such a one-note slime ball. Like they tried to make him interesting by having him speak Latin or whatever, but like he was just a smart jerk. Like it did not make it more interesting to me. Like it was meant to be a foil to Doc Holliday, which was then meant to be paid off at the end when Doc showed up in Wyatt's stead. But it just like, and I don't even know if it was necessarily Michael Biehn. It could have been the director that went for that, but it just was like,
you mean for Russell?
Yes.
Director Kurt Russell.
Whoever the director was. Yes. Thank you. I just like, I didn't love where this one landed, which surprised the heck out of me considering how much I love Michael Biehn. So I decided to go for somebody that like can do villainous and can do slimy in a way, which I think is you question the motive and you question whether it is evil or bad. And the person that I went with for that was Josh Holloway. You might remember him as, oh God, what's his name of his character from Lost? Hold on, pause for reflection.
Sawyer?
Sawyer, thank
Sawyer,
you. Yes,
correct.
He was Sawyer in Lost, who was kind of like one of the anti-heroes of that show, if you will. You couldn't ever like him, but you couldn't ever dislike him in the same way. He just had that kind of creepiness and that slime, but at the same time, you're waiting for him to make the decision as to whether he was going to make the right choice or the wrong choice, and you never knew where he was going to go. So that's where I landed on this. The pointer to this for me was we just watched the boys hadn't seen any of the Mission Impossible movies. And so we watched Ghost Protocol, the one that Brad Bird directed from 2011, I think. And he's in it for like 2 minutes at the beginning. It's in it super short. And I was like, oh yeah, that guy. And today when I was thinking about this, I was like, oh yeah, that guy would be great. So yeah, that's kind of where that landed. But I just think that he would do a much more subtle, much more interesting way of creepiness and evil than Michael Biehn ended up doing with his Johnny Ringo.
That's a solid pick.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I always thought that Josh Holloway would be a perfect Gambit if they ever made a Gambit movie.
Yeah.
Ooh,
you know, it's funny because I looked at Timmy Oliphant as well, or Timothy Oliphant. Timmy.
Good old Timmy Oliphant.
Little Timmy Oliphant. Oh boy. I looked at Timothy Oliphant as an option for that, who was Gambit in the Wolverine, the X-Men Origins one, right? Am I remembering that correctly? So yeah, that was very close for me as another option. So that's funny that you say that. But yes, I agreed 1000%. The next pick for Johnny Ringo was Lee, so I will continue on and talk about his choice. His choice was Cillian Murphy, which I think is a fantastic choice.
I like
Yep,
that.
that's a good one.
A well-loved actor here, someone who again can kind of vacillate between good and evil, and just off and on. So yeah, I think that's a great choice.
He could play. Cillian Murphy could play both Doc Holliday and Johnny Ringo.
Ooh, Inception.
We could have an Isla Fisher situation.
Go on.
But no one will vote for it.
True to form. All right, up next is Josephine. Andy, tell us about Josephine.
Josephine, originally played by the lovely Dana Delaney. Josephine is a singer, an actress, and Wyatt's siren. She provides the romantic spark that his drug-addled wife cannot. And she doesn't understand all of the ugliness of Tombstone. I really liked Dana Delaney in this role. I had a crush on Dana Delaney. Probably still do to a degree. Sorry, honey. And continuing with my beautiful cast, I chose my favorite Anne Hathaway.
Oh, nice.
So,
that feels right.
A solid. Bradley Cooper, Anne Hathaway pairing. I don't think anyone's going to say no to that.
Your picks are turning into like a Ocean's 11 style cast.
I mean, I'm okay with that.
A-list after A-list, and they're all going to have a blast making this movie.
I want to watch that. Yeah, Josephine Marcus, and again, as Jer kind of hinted at, that we'll get into the second part of the episode, is the only female character in this movie that's really given any sort of story, which is really unfortunate because I think the other women in this movie had probably some very interesting stories to tell. However, there she is. She's the top billed female character. She, like I said, she was the one who kind of saw Wyatt for his potential and also just happened to be sober compared to Wyatt's wife. So there we go. But yeah, Anne Hathaway is my choice. Mark.
Yes?
Who did you choose for Ms. Marcus?
Well, Andy, I wanted to cast somebody who is not only super foxy, but is a consummate performer, somebody who can actually sing, somebody who could do the physical performances like acting on the stage. And as I am one, somebody who has also appeared in Scott Pilgrim versus the World. So I picked Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
Yeah.
It is how you roll.
It is that Venn diagram of several circles has a very small center. Inside of it is Mary Elizabeth Winstead. So well done.
She is getting very close to being in our 5-pick club.
I think she probably blew past that a long time ago. Well, Jerry, you're the keeper of the spreadsheet, so you'll be the one to tell us.
I will let you know next time. Yeah. As an aside, Andy, while we were prior to this episode recording a few days ago, messaged me to let me know about his past crush or present crush on Dana Delaney. And as we were talking, I had a realization or a memory resurface that about 20 years ago, I dated somebody for several months. And one of the main reasons, not the only reason, but a strong reason why we dated is that she reminded me then of Dana Delaney from Tombstone. So apparently I also had a crush on Dana Delaney from Tombstone.
She's a beautiful woman.
I love it.
She's just such a free spirit.
All right. Kyle, since you are also Lee today, tell us of Virgil.
Yeah. Virgil is the oldest, wisest, and Sam Elliotist of the Earp brothers.
Oh, man, is he ever?
Is he ever? His moral compass is what ultimately pulls all three into protecting the community from outlaws and violence. Lee made a very interesting choice here. He went with Hugo Weaving. It's funny because I feel like, so for me, I was trying to recast Sam Elliott, not Virgil, which is sometimes something that happens when you have someone as specific as Sam Elliott. So I wanted to try to match that energy, but I really like the kind of the different energy that Hugo Weaving might bring to that. Like, he's not at all Sam Elliott aside from presence. Like, I feel like he's got a strong presence, but I like him kind of as the moral compass of that. I feel like he could do a good job of that. You would know him as Agent Smith in the Matrix movies, and oh God, what's his name in Lord of the Rings?
Elrond.
Elrond. Thank you. Yes.
He was also in Priscilla, Queen of the Desert.
Yep. Exactly. Another good call. So yeah, I like that. Lee, good choice. Threw me for a loop there in a very good way. Nice job. For me, who chose the second one, it's hard to recast Sam Elliott, so I wanted to find kind of the gruffest, orneriest yet sweetest version of that I could today. So I ended up with Josh Brolin for that. I feel like he brings that kind of gritty voice. He brings that presence, that composure, and I feel like he could, kind of be the hidden leader in the group when it needs that direction. So Josh Brolin.
That's solid.
Thank you.
I like both of those. Holy cow.
Yeah. Very, very different Virgils, but for very different reasons. I think that's really cool. Yeah. Finally, Morgan. Mark, take us away.
I will do this thing. Morgan, originally portrayed by Bill Paxton, is the sweet baby brother of the Earp family, as measured both by his age and the size of his mustache. When Tombstone needs a lawman and Virgil steps up, Morgan follows him. I'm sure it'll be fine.
Oh, he might as well have been wearing a red shirt the entire movie.
Yeah, could you write a more obviously tragic figure?
Oh, poor Morgan.
The only thing that was needed would be like, man, I've been having such a great day.
I just found out my wife is pregnant. I'm a day away from retirement. It's her birthday.
With a great hand of poker.
I'm going to live forever.
Yep.
Yep. And that's exactly what I wanted in my casting. So I picked Zac Efron.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Nice.
Interesting. Okay.
Mark, have you been watching his show on Netflix, or have any of you?
No, I've heard of it, but I haven't watched it yet.
I've seen snippets. Kind of his travelogue show.
Yeah, when I first saw it and heard about it, I'm like, yeah, pass. But it's actually really well done, and he is very mature about it, if that makes any sense. Like,
He's very humble.
Yeah, it's really good. It's worth watching.
Cool.
I'll have to give it a shot. I mean, he is a 30-something now, and I dare say he acts like it. He has grown up in front of our very eyes.
Aw.
Our sweet baby boy.
Little Zachy.
I still haven't seen the Ted Bundy movie that he played Ted Bundy. I'd still like to see it. That's on Netflix.
I missed that one too.
Yeah, someday.
Hey, Jer, how about you?
I went with somebody a little older, but has a baby face that is going to look like the youngest brother of the Earp family. And I was trying to pin somebody that was going to feel like they meshed with a family that had Thomas Jane as his older brother. And so I went with the consummate, brilliant actor, Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
It's been a while.
Which you would know from Inception, The Dark Knight Rises, Looper. Man, what has he done lately? Holy cow. I'm looking at his project list. He's got movies galore. Something coming out called Project Power and The Trial of the Chicago 7. He was in Snowden as Edward Snowden, which was really good. He's just one of those guys that really can pull into a role. I think that he would bring that sort of innocent charm and just sort of tragicness of it without being so obvious. And he would be the kind of person that would say, you have to back your brother's play, and I don't get it, but I'm going to be a sheriff too, and then get shot in the back.
No fun.
As a odd aside, he apparently, looking at his credits, he was a voice in Star Wars: The Last Jedi and a voice in Knives Out, which I didn't know either of that.
I knew the Last Jedi one, but I didn't know about Knives Out.
Yeah, he was the voice of the detective in Knives Out.
Huh. Did you just go pew 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 pew?
I just watched Knives Out a couple weeks ago. Holy cow, is that such a fun little...
Yeah, it's such a good paper movie. Oh, it's so good. In Last Jedi, he is, when they're trying to find Finn and Rose, there's an alien who goes like, "That's them, they're over there." That's Joseph Gordon-Levitt, I'm pretty sure.
Slow and low.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. that it sounds so much like Carl Urban as Bones in the Star Trek movies that I thought it was him, but I don't think it is. I think that was him. He sounds so much like Bones from the first Star Trek movie.
That's so funny.
Yeah, that's some serious sci-fi falling in on itself. But yeah, J.J. Abrams verse.
Right.
Even if it was a Rian Johnson movie. Anywho, good discussion, gang. That was really fun. I feel like we had a lot to work with there for recasting, and I think we did it justice. Good job. So, closing up here, Remakers Mark is a proud member of the Math is Hard Network. To find out more information about this podcast or any other podcast on the network, check us out at mathishard.net. There you will find show notes with links to all of the people, movies, and links discussed in this episode. This information is also attached to the show file in the podcast client of your choice. You can find us anywhere you listen to podcasts, including Google Play, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, where you can rate and review Remakers Mark, which would mean the world to us. And now we are on YouTube. Just to search for Remakers Mark. We are on both Facebook, search for Math is Hardnet or Remakers Mark, and Twitter and Instagram at Remakers Mark and Remakers Mark Podcast, respectively. So please join in the discussion there as well. So, gentlemen, I appreciate you hanging out with me. Don't forget to clean out your spittoons after this. I know there's been a lot of little dings that I've heard in the background that will mute out so that nobody hears them. But until the next time, may the force be with you.
And also with you.
You can find us anywhere you listen to podcasts, including Google Play. You can find us anywhere you listen to podcasts, including Google Play, Spotify, iTunes, where you can rate and review Remakers Mark. Jesus.
You sounded like Beaker just then.
Google Flay, by the way, is Bobby Flay's app store. Not a lot of people know that. Yeah, it's terrible. You can find us anywhere you listen to podcasts, including Google Play, Spotify, and iTunes, where you can rate and review Oh, this is my kryptonite tonight. Wow.
Is it even still called iTunes?
Rate
it's
review.
Apple
Podcasts.
Let's change that.
Rate and review.
Yeah,
Rate
no.
and review. Rate and review. Rate
Red
and
leather,
review.
yellow leather. Red leather, yellow leather.
I love you guys.